Welcome back, coders, and never stop coding. So now here we are going to talk about ES6 variables. Now, initially before ES6 was released, there was one way of defining variables, and that was var. So you could only define a variable using var. So if you had var name, maybe I'll put Henry. You could only define variables using var. But after that, there were two other ways of defining variables. There was let. So you'd have var let will equal to Henry. Let's put Henry again. Then also there was another way of const. There was const, so you could use const Henry. No. Const Henry will equal to Henry. So here we cannot use let because let is a keyword. We can put name. Then here we can use let. Then here const, we can also put here name, not Henry. So these are the two new ways of defining variables that was created with ES6. But what is the difference between var, let, and const? Now let's first talk about var. Var, if you use var outside a function, it belongs to the global scope. It means that someone can access var anywhere in the code. So it belongs to the global scope. Now if you use var inside a function, it belongs to that function. It means that outside that function, someone cannot access var. If you use var inside a block, like a for loop, now the types of blocks you can have maybe is a for loop or a while loop, the variable is still available outside the block. It means that if I created a variable when I was in a for loop, it means that after the for loop is done, the variable will still be accessed. Someone can access it outside the for loop. So that's why they say var has a function scope, not a block scope. It means that it can work outside a block. It means that after the block is done, what var will still be available, but it has a function scope because it can only be used in the function. Now when you use let is the block, it's like the block scoped version of var, and is not limited to block, to the block. It's var is not limited to the block. I mean var is limited. Var is not limited to the block, but let is limited to the block. It means that if I had a for loop and then in the for loop I used let, after the for loop is done, I cannot access whatever variable I defined in let. So let has a block scope. It means that it can only work in a block, and after the block is done, you can no longer access it. Now let's go to const. Const also has a block scope. Now the keyword const it's usually a bit misleading, and it does not define a constant value. It defines a constant reference to a value. It means that when I use let, it doesn't mean that I'm defining a constant value. It defines a constant reference to a value. It means that if I defined a list of words, let's say that P. Now this doesn't mean that I cannot change any value inside here. I can change the values inside here, but I cannot add anything on. Like I cannot add maybe a new something inside here, because the references created are constant. You cannot change the references created. So the reference to the array created is usually constant. Now because of this, you cannot reassign a constant value, reassign a constant array, but you can reassign the values inside the array or the elements. You cannot reassign a constant object, but you can change the elements of a constant array and change the properties of a constant object. That's something you can do with const. So these are the new types of variables in ES6. And thank you for watching. Continue coding. Never give up.